Welcome back to the News Twitcher channel, everyone. Get ready, because today we're sailing beyond the horizon with a deep dive into Moana 2, a journey beyond the horizon.
You know, the first film made such a splash.
It did.
Talk about high tide of expectations for the sequel. What do you think? Are we going to be swept away by this one?
I think the currents are definitely running strong in that direction. The original Moana was a cultural phenomenon.
For sure.
And everything you've sent me about the sequel suggests they're not just retreading familiar waters.
Okay. Let's unpack what we have here. We've got plot breakdowns, early reviews, some really interesting thematic analysis, and I'm seeing whispers about some truly breathtaking visuals, especially those underwater sequences.
I've heard about those.
But before we get lost at sea, let me just remind everyone to visit musicreacher.com, where you can find even more about the movie, deep dive into other reviews, and of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
All right. Back to Moana 2. So the movie opens with Motunui thriving under Moana's leadership. But there's a sense of, well, something's not quite right in paradise.
Exactly. It's like that calm before the storm. You know how the first film was all about Moana's personal journey of self-discovery?
Right.
Well, the sequel seems to be charting a new course. One focused on leadership, responsibility, and even environmental stewardship. The research you sent points to some pretty ominous signs, from the ocean, dwindling fish, unpredictable tides, even these unsettling stories about islands vanishing beneath the waves.
Now, that's what I call high stakes.
Right.
It makes you wonder, is this hinting at real-world environmental anxieties?
Yeah.
Or are we diving deeper into Polynesian mythology here?
That's a great question. The sources do seem to be drawing a parallel between the ecological challenges faced by Moana's world and our own growing concerns about climate change.
Interesting.
It'd be interesting to see how they navigate that.
Speaking of navigation, there are whispers about a mysterious new entity, Te Rangi, tied to this oceanic upheaval. So is this our big bad, our villain of the deep?
It's not so simple. The materials you shared paint a more nuanced picture.
Okay.
Te Rangi is described as a forgotten entity, a guardian of balance who's been, well, let's say disrupted.
Okay.
There's a sense that its anger is rooted in some past grievance, a misunderstanding that needs to be untangled. And we're not talking your typical Disney villain here. This is more like a force of nature.
Right.
Maybe even a reflection of those misunderstood forces in our own lives.
Whoa. That's deep. So we're not just talking about good versus evil,
Yeah.
but more like restoring harmony.
Precisely. The research mentions flashbacks that reveal Te Rangi's backstory, showing its origins as a protector before things went awry. It's almost tragic, you know? Makes you question who's really the villain here.
Okay, I'm already hooked. So how does Moana plan to tackle this? She's not exactly going to face a force of nature alone, is she?
You know Moana. Always ready to dive headfirst into a challenge.
What?
And this time, she's seeking out a familiar demigod.
Now,
He's been keeping a low profile since the first film. But Moana needs his help to track down a legendary artifact, one that holds the key to calming Te Rangi.
of course, it's never easy with Maui, right? I mean, we all remember his, let's call it, healthy ego.
Yeah.
What makes him join Moana on this particular voyage?
From what I've gathered, it's not just Moana's determination, though that certainly plays a part. Maui seems to be wrestling with his own internal struggles. He's got insecurities, past failures that still weigh on him.
Oh, wow.
It's almost as if he's searching for redemption, a chance to rediscover his purpose as a hero.
That's a classic arc, isn't it? The flawed hero. Always a fan favorite.
Yeah.
And speaking of intriguing characters, there's a newcomer to the crew, Kaya.
Kaya.
What can you tell us about her?
Kaya is a fascinating addition. The research highlights her skills as a navigator, which makes her a vital ally to Moana. But there's also a sense of depth to her character, a tragic past that she carries with her. It makes you wonder how her personal struggles might intersect with the larger themes of the film. Responsibility, reconciliation, even understanding those misunderstood forces we talked about.
Intriguing. Sounds like we're in for a pretty captivating journey here. But before we set sail any further, I want to remind everyone to head over to musicreacher.com. You can find more in-depth analysis and reviews of Moana 2, explore other fascinating deep dives, and of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay, back to the movie. It sounds like this quest takes Moana and her crew to some visually stunning locations. We're talking magical islands, encounters with fantastical sea creatures, and those underwater sequences everyone's buzzing about.
Right.
Tell me more about those.
From what you've shared, it sounds like they've pushed the boundaries of animation even further this time. We're talking bioluminescent creatures illuminating coral forests,
Wow.
the ocean itself practically dancing on screen. It's almost as if the environment itself is a character in this story.
And what about the music? We all know Lin-Manuel Miranda's back. So we're in for some serious ear candy, right?
Without a doubt. The sources you shared highlight several key songs, like Beyond the Horizon, which I suspect will be Moana's anthem for this adventure.
Oh.
Then there's Rise of the Tide, which could be tied to Te in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, no Moana movie is complete without a duet.
I know, right?
So I'm guessing Together We Sail is our Moana and Maui moment.
Okay, those are going straight on my playlist. But it's not just about catchy tunes, right?
Yep.
The music has to work with the story.
Absolutely. From what I've read, lin-manuel Miranda is a master at crafting music that not only enhances the emotional depth of a film, but also pays homage to the culture it represents.
Yeah, I agree.
The blending of Polynesian rhythms with
Yeah.
modern melodies, the lyrics that convey both personal struggles and universal themes. It's about creating a sonic landscape that completely immerses you in Moana's world.
Speaking of immersion, the reviews you sent mention a deeper narrative and stronger emotional core this time around.
Uh-huh.
What are your thoughts on that?
It seems like they're not just rehashing the first film. Moana 2 appears to be grappling with more complex themes, leadership, responsibility, even facing those difficult choices that come with protecting what you love. And then there's that whole question of understanding versus conquering,
Right.
especially in relation to Te. It makes you think, doesn't it?
It definitely does. Okay, let's pause here for a moment. We've got a lot more to unpack. But before we dive deeper, I want to remind everyone to check out musictreacher.com for more in-depth analysis and reviews of Moana 2. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're there. Okay, let's resurface and continue our exploration of this captivating sequel.
Let's dive back into those complex characters.
Okay.
Moana's journey in this film is particularly interesting. She's no longer the wide-eyed voyager finding her way. She's a leader now, carrying the weight of her people's well-being on her shoulders.
And from what you've read, it sounds like that weight isn't exactly light. The sources mention moments of self-doubt, suggesting that even a strong leader like Moana grapples with the pressures of responsibility.
It's a theme that resonates, isn't it? Even those we see as confident and capable experience moments of uncertainty.
For sure.
It humanizes Moana, shows us that leadership isn't about always having the answers, but about facing those tough choices with courage and compassion.
Definitely. It makes her journey even more relatable. So how does this experience shape her character in the film? Does she emerge even stronger, even more sure of herself?
From what I've gathered, this journey is less about finding certainty and more about embracing the complexities of leadership.
Okay.
She learns to draw upon the wisdom of her ancestors, to trust her instincts, and to find strength in the support of her community.
That's powerful. Okay, let's talk about Maui. We left him in a rather introspective place at the end of the first film.
Yeah.
How does Moana 2 build on his character arc?
Well, as we mentioned, he's initially hesitant to get involved, but this journey seems to be less about grand gestures of heroism and more about confronting those inner demons we talked about. Remember, Maui is driven by a need to prove himself, to live up to his legend. But what if true heroism lies in acknowledging those vulnerabilities, in accepting help, in finding purpose beyond personal glory?
That's an interesting take. It makes his journey one of self-discovery as much as Moana's, just in a different way.
Right.
They're both wrestling with what it means to be responsible to others and to themselves.
Exactly. And it's through their interactions, their struggles, and their shared experiences that both characters find a deeper understanding of themselves and their place in the world.
Now let's bring Kaya into the mix. We know she's a skilled navigator with a tragic past. How does she fit into this dynamic between Moana and Maui?
The sources highlight Kaya's journey as one of healing and trust. She's carrying the weight of a painful past, which has made her guarded, maybe even a bit cynical. But through her connection with Moana and Maui, she begins to break down those walls, to allow herself to be vulnerable, and to find strength in connection.
It's like that classic theme of finding your tribe, finding those people who see you and can accept you, flaws and all.
Exactly.
Do the sources shed any light on the nature of Kaya's tragedy?
They keep the specifics shrouded in mystery. But it's clear that her past has deeply impacted her outlook on life. It makes me wonder if her story serves as a reflection, Of those misunderstood forces we talked about earlier,
Uh-huh.
maybe understanding Kaya's past is key to understanding the larger conflict with Terangi.
That's a fascinating connection. So we have these three characters, each on their own journey of self-discovery and healing, all while facing a threat that seems to be more about restoring balance than simply defeating evil. It's
Right.
a compelling dynamic for sure.
Right.
But let's talk more about Terangi. What makes this entity so unique, so different from the typical Disney villain?
What struck me is that Terangi isn't driven by malice or greed. The sources describe it as a force of nature, a guardian of balance who has been thrown off kilter.
Okay.
It's almost like Terangi is reacting to a perceived injustice, lashing out in pain, rather than with any intent to cause harm.
So the solution isn't necessarily about defeating this entity, but more about understanding it, maybe even helping it heal.
That seems to be the core of the conflict. The flashbacks we mentioned earlier suggest that Terangi wasn't always this way. Something happened. Something shifted. That turned this protector into a perceived threat. And it's up to Moana, Maui, and Kaya to unravel that mystery and find a way to restore balance.
That's a really nuanced take on storytelling, especially for a Disney movie. It challenges the traditional good versus evil narrative, forcing viewers to look beyond surface appearances and consider the deeper motivations driving the conflict.
Exactly. And by doing so, it prompts us to question our own assumptions about
Okay.
those we perceive as different or threatening, maybe like Terangi. Those we label as villains are simply reacting to their own pain or misunderstanding. It's a powerful message, one that encourages empathy and understanding.
It's a message that resonates even more deeply in today's world, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It reminds us that true solutions often lie in understanding the root cause of a problem, not simply resorting to force or judgment.
Okay, so we've got these incredible character arcs, intertwined with a conflict that challenges our perceptions of good and evil. But let's talk about how it all comes together visually. Those underwater sequences in particular have been getting a lot of praise. What makes them so special?
From the materials you've shared, it seems they've truly outdone themselves with the animation.
Wow.
The way they capture the fluidity of the ocean, the vibrant colors of the coral reefs, the bioluminescent creatures that illuminate the depths, it's as if they've brought a whole new world to life.
It makes me think about how far animation has come, how it can transport us to these fantastical places and make them feel so real, so immersive.
And they've achieved all of this while maintaining a deep respect for the culture that inspired the story. The sources mention the extensive research and collaboration with Polynesian experts to ensure authenticity in every detail, from the designs of the characters and environments to the integration of traditional music and mythology.
It's so important to see that level of care and attention to detail, especially when telling stories from other cultures. It's not just about entertainment. It's about honoring and sharing those cultural legacies with the world.
Absolutely. Moana, too, seems to be striking a beautiful balance between captivating storytelling and cultural sensitivity. It's a testament to the power of collaboration and respect in crafting truly meaningful narratives.
Okay, before we get swept away by all this visual and cultural richness, let's dive back into the music. We've already mentioned Lin-Manuel Miranda's return.
Yeah.
But what can you tell us about the specific ways music enhances this film?
It's clear that the music is more than just a backdrop. It's woven into the very fabric of the story. The sources highlight how specific songs reflect the emotional journeys of the characters, the ebb and flow of the plot, and the cultural heart of the film. It's as if the music itself is a character,
Interesting.
adding depth and nuance to every scene.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Moana 2 is shaping up to be a visually stunning, emotionally resonant, and culturally rich experience.
From what you've shared, it certainly seems that way. It's clear that the filmmakers have approached this project with passion and care, crafting a sequel that not only lives up to the legacy of the first film, but also pushes the boundaries of storytelling in meaningful ways.
Now, before we get lost in the depths of this discussion, let's take a moment to remind everyone that you can find even more in-depth analysis and reviews of Moana 2 on our website, musicrature.com. While you're there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more exciting deep dives. Okay, let's resurface and continue our exploration of this captivating sequel. We've charted a course through some pretty fascinating aspects of this film. The characters, the themes, the visuals, even the music.
It has it all.
But as we approach the end of our deep dive, what's the overall takeaway? Is Moana 2 truly a worthy successor to the original?
Based on everything you've shared, it seems like they've navigated those tricky sequel waters remarkably well. They've managed to capture the spirit of the first film while also carving out its own unique identity, which
Uh,
is no easy feat.
the reviews you sent are overwhelmingly positive, praising the deeper narrative, the emotional resonance, and that stunning animation we talked about.
Yeah.
And one thing that really stands out is the emphasis on cultural authenticity.
That's so crucial, especially when dealing with stories rooted in a specific culture. From what I've read, they went to great lengths to involve Polynesian voices throughout the process, ensuring that the film reflects the beauty and complexity of that heritage.
It's not just about representation, it's about respect,
Right.
about ensuring that the story is told with sensitivity and understanding. And it sounds like that effort has resonated with audiences.
Yeah.
The early reactions you shared mentioned a real emotional connection with the film, a sense that it's not just entertaining but also thought-provoking.
It seems like they've struck a chord with viewers. By exploring these universal themes of leadership, responsibility, and understanding, the way they've woven those ideas into a visually stunning and musically captivating adventure is really impressive.
And then that's what we're all about here at Music Literature, right?
Yeah.
We love to delve into those deeper layers, those thought-provoking elements that elevate a film beyond mere entertainment.
It's about sparking conversations, encouraging viewers to engage with the story on multiple levels, and maybe even see the world a little differently.
Well said. So as we prepare to dock our metaphorical ship and bid farewell to this deep dive, would you say that Moana 2, A Journey Beyond the Horizon, is a journey worth taking?
Based on everything we've explored, I'd say absolutely. It's a visually stunning, emotionally resonant, and culturally rich experience that has something to offer audiences of all ages.
If you loved the first Moana, you'll find yourself right back in those familiar waters,
Uh-huh.
but with a deeper, more complex current pulling you along. And if you're new to this world, it's a fantastic place to begin your exploration.
Whether you're seeking adventure, emotional depth, or a glimpse into another culture, Moana 2 seems to deliver on all fronts.
And before we wrap things up, one last reminder to head over to musicrature.com for more in-depth analysis, reviews, and deep dives into a wide range of films and media. And while you're there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support means the world to us.
Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Yeah.
and keep the conversation going in.